I am currently an airfield airport operations supervisor at O'Hare International Airport. My employer is the city of Chicago. I work for the Department of Aviation. So the city is the owner operator of the airport. Why I chose this role, I was not necessarily set on my minor, which is aviation safety, until I took my first class. And when I did that, I realized that there was a lot of positions that would allow me to encompass both my business major and my minor. And so I chose this role because I wanted to be a part of a group of people that were involved in a very complex, fast-paced operation. I think that being in this role has allowed me to enhance my leadership skills a lot because of the fact that it involves me having to make decisions. I don't want to say on the fly, because they are based on knowledge, training, and the situation as it unfolds. But I do like the fact that a lot of the decisions that I make, I can make on my own. I also did not want to be confined to a desk, at least not initially in my career. And one of the qualities and the really big benefits of this job is being able to be out on the airfield, seeing your actions develop into results on a daily basis. So we'll go back a little bit here. I grew up in the Middle East with my family. We lived in many countries in the Middle East, and then my high school education was at the American School in Beirut in Lebanon. I was always into aviation. Aviation kind of runs in my family. My grandfather worked for the Lebanese Airlines until his retirement. My father originally wanted to be in aviation, and then that passion kind of translated over to me. I knew a lot about Embry-Riddle. My college counselors were recommending it, and after applying and attending Embry-Riddle, I graduated with a bachelor's in aviation business administration. I focused in air transportation, and then my minor, which I mentioned earlier, was aviation safety, which exposed me to a lot of the operational kind of sides to aviation that I might not have been really learning about in the business program. That being said, there were a lot of classes about airline and airport operations, but you do get to see the other side of the safety side of things when it comes to making decisions on an airfield or design planning that goes on the airfield as well. So typical day is I think it's a limiting question. So my job is very variable. I'm exposed to a lot, and some things are scheduled daily things. Some things are periodic, so they're done weekly, monthly, but at the same time, we do get exposed to a lot of on-the-fly events, calls. So I guess I'll start small and I'll generalize later. But one thing I mentioned earlier was inspections. So on a day-to-day basis, as required by the FAA, we are required to inspect all of our taxiways and runways. And when I say taxiways and runways, I mean everything about them: lights, signs, markings, and our safety areas, which are, our grass areas surrounding our taxiways and runways. So a lot of people don't know this, but when you look out the window at an airport, you see a lot of flat land, open space, and that's because there are a lot of rules as far as obstructions go. So whether you think that a small tower or a crane being built in a neighboring neighborhood near the airport, these things all have an effect on the operation and can cause issues. So a lot of our job involves monitoring these things. We document them, and we issue NOTAMs, which are notices to airmen, if there's anything that requires pilot's attention or the airline's planning or prior planning for if they have flights going into O'Hare. Another thing is construction. So O'Hare is one of the fastest growing airports in the United States. Our plans for the next 15 to 20 years involve a lot of major changes, and construction is a very big part of that, obviously. But we have to be able to make all these changes and construct everything that we need to construct without interrupting or interfering too much with the operational flow of the airport. So what it comes down to is my job is to ensure the uninterrupted operation of O'Hare. And of course, sometimes you do need to interrupt the operation in order to achieve your long-term goals. However, we need to study how to do that with the least amount of impact possible, or negative impact possible. So a lot of our construction goes on at night. When we coordinate taxiway closures with the FAA, which ultimately the tower or air traffic control tower has to know about everything that's happening on the airfield. We work hand in hand with them. We notify them of a lot of things, that they notify us about a lot of things, but ultimately we are closing taxiways, inspecting them when they're done, making sure that there are no issues or hazards to aviation safety once the taxiway does open up again and aircraft are coming and going. And lastly, like I said, the ad hoc things. We have issues. We have debris sometimes that we find that we need to clear. We find issues with our taxiways that might require them being closed until they can be repaired. And then obviously we have the aircraft incidents, disabled aircraft or anything of that sort. A lot of these events you don't hear about in the news and the media because they're usually very insignificant and they're resolved with that issue in under an hour. But at the same time, given our climate here, the ground freezes in Chicago, and so that causes some issues with potholes and taxiways, and so sometimes we're forced to close these taxiways, whether or not it negatively impacts aircraft. If it's a safety hazard, we have to be on the safe side in order not to risk any damage or any issues with aircraft on our airfield. And there are standards for everything. A lot of our training prepares us to make that decision, to say, okay, we have to close this taxiway. A lot of my job involves me, like I said, being out on the airfield by myself, with other vehicles, other operations supervisors. However, a lot of the decisions that have to be made need to be made based on my understanding of the situation. In other words, I can't call somebody and ask them what to do, because a lot of the times I'm the eyes and ears on the field. I can see what's going on, and my supervisor, my manager might not be able to see what's going on from where he is. So I have to make that decision and be confident about it, and also provide my management with what I think the solution might be. What's the best way to resolve this situation? How can I repair this issue? Also, again, while causing, the least amount of negative impact, and trying my best, obviously, not to hinder the operational flow of the airport. I like the flexibility. I love the idea that, some days I'm indoors at a desk monitoring aspects of the job that can't be done from the field, and then some days I'm on the field. I do work a 24/7 operation, and for some people that might be something they're interested in. So I do enjoy being on an off shift because it allows me to do more with my regular day. But that being said, I guess a challenging aspect of the job is that we are a 24/7 operation. So there are some holidays that I do have to miss out on. There are some, life events that obviously if I can't get the day off, I have to work. And that's something that, for me, it's not a major deal. I'm very happy where I am. If I need a day off, I can usually get it. Again, depending on snow, weather, operational need. If our staffing allows it, then I can. But one of the other challenges is also our snow operations. I didn't mention this earlier intentionally. So in the winter, airfield operations supervisors are primarily overseeing or supervising the snow removal at the airport. So we work with our motor truck drivers, the snow teams, we call them our snow teams. They're making sure that whatever maintenance we're doing, whatever runway cleaning, taxiway cleaning we're doing is being done to standard and up to par with the requirements that we have. And snow is a whole different ballgame. So our staffing goes up, our duties shift a lot in terms of what are we doing when we have a little bit of time, what's our primary focus. And in the winter, our primary focus is technically the same. So we want to provide the runways and taxiways that we've promised to provide and allow the airlines to conduct their operations without delays, because I'm sure you know, one delay at O'Hare can cause 4 or 5 delays later on in the day. So snow is challenging. It's a lot of pressure. It's a very fast-paced thing that happens, and you have to be on top of your game. You have to be focused. You need to be able to notice things that might be an issue or it's too late to fix them. Sometimes turning around is not as easy when you have large equipment, massive teams with 30, 40 trucks that you need to loop around. And sometimes, believe it or not, turning around can cause more damage than what they've, they can reverse what they've already done in terms of how much work they've done. And the weather plays into it, direction of wind plays into it. There are so many factors that are involved in how quickly we can clean a runway, how fast we can get the airport back up and running after a major snow event or a blizzard. The work-life balance, in my opinion, is easy to manage. Now, that being said, I'm very flexible, and that's something I would really tell anybody going into working at an airport, especially one that is 24/7, commercial operation. If you are okay with being, out in the cold or working late at night, this is the job for you. Now, it's something that I enjoy. I like to work. I'm currently on midnight shift, so I work midnight to 8 a.m. And sleep permitting, I can still do a lot of things with my day, because a lot of businesses are open 8 to 5 or whatever that may be. And so leaving work at 8, I have the opportunity to go run errands or do anything that I might need to do while businesses are open. Now, you look at it from a different angle. If I worked from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, I'm getting off work while everybody else is. So I'm getting stuck in traffic. I might not have time to head to the places that I need to go before, they close. And so that's something that for me, again, I'm not married. I don't have kids yet. I don't have any really responsibilities during the day. So working at night kind of frees up that schedule for me. But again, you can expect to miss out on holidays. You can expect to miss out on birthdays. So it's something that you can definitely figure out a way, to get off. And again, staff permitting, management permitting, it's not usually an issue for me, but it's never something that I promise myself. I never say, okay, I'm 100% going to be off on Christmas Day, because in the event of a snowstorm, almost every employee is working. And so unfortunately, there is no way to get out of going to work. And so, it's definitely something that certain people prefer, while it's something that certain people would never explore. And I think, maybe give it a chance if you're unsure about it, because it can be rewarding in terms of time. It does allow you to do a lot of things that you didn't think you could do. I thought initially that I would be, tired all the time and not have time to do anything, but I found that most of my tasks that I need to do can be completed during the day without any issues. So I am very interested in the airport world, and while my current role is not the only way to achieve my goal, really the largest growth path is into airport management. So, do you want to be an airport manager? Yes, you could be involved with a different department within an airport and also reach the same goal. I chose airfield operations because I think that a large part of being a successful manager at the airport is understanding how maybe some minor things could cause delays. And so, that being said, you could work in landside operations, which at some airports, these two departments are combined. But for us at O'Hare, our airfield operations supervisors are only on the airfield, and that's our area of expertise, if you want to call it. Being exposed to all of this, I think will prepare me very well to taking on roles that involve changing operating procedures, understanding how our snow programs work and how our snow and ice control plan can affect aircraft operations, airline operations. And so that is primarily my goal. I know it's going to be a while before I'm going to reach that stage, but there are a lot of steps in between now and then that I can take, and a lot of positions that I can pursue to prepare me even better for such a position. One of the largest things that I don't want to say I wish I had worked on more, but I really wish I had focused more on my ability to make decisions on my own now. I'm not saying I was someone who was indecisive by any means, but I think a large part of being successful in the airport world and working on the airfield is being able to make a decision based on your education and your knowledge and sticking with it. So when you have, how can I phrase this? When you have 4 aircraft waiting for you on a taxiway, you don't have time to be unsure, right? So while you do have to make a smart decision and something that's not reckless, you have to be able to work under pressure. You have to be able to assess all your options, look at what you need to get done, and communicate it effectively. And that's my next point, is communication. So when I'm speaking to my colleagues on a radio, I don't have time to narrate and write and make this huge plan. I have to think about what I'm going to do to resolve the situation I have at hand, while simply speaking, using the least amount of words possible. So how can I fix this with the resources that I have, or the resources that I can get in a short period of time? And also, what can I do, or what can I provide as an alternative to this taxiway that I'm using, or how can I give management something else to work with while I can resolve this issue? I guess the last thing is I would say, be open to working in that 24/7 operation. It's not something that's impossible by any means. I'm not a superhuman. I still need my 8 hours of sleep, at least that I prefer my 8 hours of sleep. But I guess the last thing would be, try to learn a little bit about Part 139. Those are the FAA regulations that govern airport operations. They're available online. They're free to view. It's public information. And those are the standards that airports are held to. Now, different airports do more or less in different areas, but there are criteria that have to be met. And that's a very good way to learn. I would say, you can really learn about the scope of what we do and the different things that we do, such as wildlife management. We work with the US Department of Agriculture to mitigate and monitor wildlife activity at our airport. There are endangered birds, there are hazards that they might cause, there's methods of relocation, or we call it hazing, so how to disperse flocks of birds, etc. So that's something I didn't know going into the airport world, is how much really goes into the operation. What really are things that we're responsible for, and there are a lot. There's definitely things that I haven't listed yet, but again, it's very interesting. It's very easy to find this information and learn about it.